Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Don't Feed the Animals. And guess what? It's Halloween. It's Halloween morning, and I still love this day. Some years, I build a whole set up everything, decorate, fogs, lights, and everything. And some years, I just want real conversation before the world gets too loud on this day. Today, I want to talk about why people like me are drawn to the dark without turning it into a lecture or a performance. When I say dark, I don't mean a mood or an aesthetic. I mean something useful. Dark helps the body reset. It gives the mind the contrast it needs to see clearly, and it gives the heart a safe room to feel without falling apart. That's the frame. And I'll keep it human and simple. Now, Halloween's so special to me because I grew up trick-or-treating down a strip of shops in Brooklyn when I was little in the 90s. Prime time for Halloween. Now, where the store owners stood near their doorways, it was like a block party. They would just hand out candy, go to all the different stores. The windows were fogged from the inside. You know, you could smell like the rubber from your mask that you're wearing. And then, you know, it just, you know, you would even have like some years you'd have the little plastic. I remember like the old school like plastic fangs that you put in your mouth, and they were always like too big and they'd cut the corners of my mouth. Wore them anyway though. I've even won a few costume contests for Halloween. You know, I like the theater of it, you know, and I still do. But the moments that stuck with me wasn't inside like the store when I was, you know, grabbing your costume or grabbing, you know, your candy from the store fronts. It's when I pushed it back open and left the different stores to get candy. You know, the air is cold. You know, that it's also this time of year too, it's just like crisp. The noise drops a notch. You know, you can like, it's almost like you can hear your own footsteps again. And I don't even have language for it then, but that quiet, it was doing something to me. And here's what I mean by useful when it comes to the dark. On a body level, dark is not poetry. It's like wiring. When the lights go down, your system flips job. Daytime is for output. Nighttime is usually for repair. I mean, obviously, if you're somebody who works a night job, you have it. It's the same thing but flipped. But, you know, obviously you're an outlier. Not that, you know, there's a lot of people work at night. But even so, you can even say if you ever had a normal, you know, job, you feel better resting at night. If you had a proper night's sleep in the late October, you feel what I'm pointing at. You breathe a little bit easier. You know, your thoughts line up a little bit quicker. The morning air usually feels clean. I really do like this time of year. That's chemistry and hormones in the brain that finally had time to clean house. And I'm not talking about vibes. You know, I'm not talking about getting a certain cup for, you know, that's on sale, or a boo basket or anything like that, or carving jack. I'm talking about the maintenance of the dark. You know, the dark is part of how we stay human instead of just staying busy. You know, for me though, if I'm going to be honest and open like I always am on this podcast, this year hits a little bit softer for me. Not worse, just softer. You know, the one thing I noticed that kind of took away is when life has weight, you don't need to feel like you don't need to have like a full haunted house, to feel October. Like, I can literally light a candle, take a short walk. When I go out tonight, I'll spot at least one good costume and call it a win. And that counts. People act like Halloween only works at like max volume, and it works on low power mode too. You go with what you can. And the mind loves the dark for a different reason. It needs contrast. That's another thing, a reason why, I feel like dark is very important. A candle at noon is nothing, and a candle at midnight changes the room. Meaning pops when the background is quiet. Movies know this. That's why certain scenes live in my head rent-free. One of my favorite movies, and I probably mentioned it before on the podcast, Donnie Darko, sat on the top shelf for years. And it isn't just the ending of Donnie Darko that really gets to me. Though, I'll touch on that later. It's how the movie treats mystery with respect instead of trying to explain it to death. Like, there's a classroom scene that, I kind of resonate with it. I resaw the movie recently, and the fun part about rewatching movies is that you always get a different perspective when you rewatch it, because you're getting the perspective of your current self when you rewatch something, especially if you're a cinephile like me. So the movies that I love, I always have a different view or angle of it. And there's a classroom scene where Donnie and Gretchen are given a presentation. Basically, like, they're coming up with like some sort of invention. They came up with something about like that gives something that you could show newborns, when like you just show them nice things, and it just has them grow up, maybe seeing if there's like makes their brain work better. But the teacher pushes back and he says, what if infants need darkness? And he isn't saying like sadness, like in darkness. He means like, we're talking about like the conditions growth requires. Like, babies start in dark, seeds split in soil. So the film used to be developed in a dark room, like, just like everything that created sometimes Chris created from the dark. Fuck. I mean, let's be real. My motivation to doing this podcast came from a dark place, the place of, I don't know if anything means anything, I don't know if my voice means anything, but let's do it anyway, And as a kid, like, when, that teacher said that and that scene happened, I just kind of let it pass. But as an adult, it sounds like a note I should tape to my mirror, like, be patient and let things develop, let things be dark. That one idea explains a lot how I think. I'm the guy who sits with a feeling until I can name it. I like the room a little dim when I'm sorting out a thought. Not for the drama, but because dim light lets me see the outline instead of the glare. The contrast does its job. It helps the mind decide what actually matters. If we're on Donnie Darko, let me just tell you, that ending of that movie though gets me every time. Talking about lump in my throat, hair standing straight up, not out of it's just out of like pure emotion. The song drops. If you've ever seen the movie, the song ends with a remake of oh my god, why can't I think of the name? But it's that Tears for Fears song. And the face drifts off. They show everybody's, like, because spoiler alert, it ends grim, of course. And they show everybody's kind of reaction, like if it was a dream. And then the scene at the end when the girl, his girlfriend is, asking this kid, like, did you know him? Like, she never met him yet, And it lands in my throat because the best scenes like slows down and strips away noise. Because it's true, there was like just quiet. It was just letting it ride. That feeling was nowhere to hide. And that's the mind finally hearing what it's been trying to say. You know, the heart needs the dark too. But not in the way people assume. It doesn't want like a nightly funeral. It doesn't want you mourning. It wants a safe room. You know, Halloween is fear practice on easy mode. And it is true. Like, there is something about adrenaline, you know, it does get your heart racing when you try to face and step into the right night, you know. Try to face your fear, you know. Little masks, scary things, you know. Fear is a decent coach when it's handled like that. Short instructions. Breathe. Do the next thing. If my anxiety build me that simply, instead of charging interest, we be golden. And since I'm on the topic of movies, you know, the Crow has a great line in it too, you know, that kind of resonates with me. And it is rooted in darkness. That movie is dark as hell, you know. There's a quiet moment where Eric says, you know, he quotes his past fiance, and she said he used to think that certain things were trivial, and he says, you know, nothing is trivial. And, you know, nothing is trivial once you know that what can be taken from you when you really think about it. And that single sentence changed how I move through the day. Pay attention. Now, while people and movements are still here, you don't need a speech to like live that way. You just need to have to act like you've heard it, you know? People hear me say I love dark and they assume like this is a sad ass boy. It isn't. I love family. I love loud, nude, and joy. I also respect the work it takes to look what hurts and not turn away. Joy isn't like porcelain. It travels. It can stand next to grief without cracking. If you want gore, check my to-do list. I'm here for the meaning. You know, 90s Halloween nostalgia still puts a smile out of me when you also think about it. You know, the shop run, the rubber mask smell, the fangs. You know, there's a simple rule set. Ask, receive, and say thank you. And that's something I also learned back then too. And you move on. Being an adult in October is different, but it isn't worse. I get to choose the parts that feel true and skip the parts that feel like performance. You know, I don't need 12 props to prove that, hey, I got the vibe. And the point is contact, not production value. So some years I'm surrounded on Halloween night, and some years I'm alone. I feel like the last trick-or-treater on the block. But here's the thing. Both are fine. Being single isn't a hex. I mean, I pick the playlist and I leave when I want. It also means I get to mark the night in small ways that only will belong to me. And that's the safe room idea again. Feel what you need without letting it swallow the whole evening. Again, I know that this sounds always like a therapy session, but you know what, to be fair, I had my therapy session recently. And there is something so rewarding about opening myself up to you guys and kind of sharing what the dark means. So let me circle back to the body for a second, because, you know, it sounds basic, but it matters. But if you've ever stepped outside at night and felt your shoulders drop even though nothing's changed, like, that's your system checking in. Like, lower light tells the body it could stop performing and start repairing. You sleep better if you respect that. You'll think better if you leave space for it. This is like the unglamorous part of loving the dark, and it's probably the most useful. And on the mind side, Contrast isn't just a movie trick. Think about those, those nights in Brooklyn, back in the day for me. Fluorescent buzz inside the shop. Then you push the door on the sidewalk, and everything felt bigger. The candy didn't change though, and my costume didn't change. The backdrop changed. Your brain wrote a better story because the scene gave it permission. And that's why a quiet October street can hit harder than any pep talk. And that's what I'm giving myself. So for the heart to keep it practical, I call it a 2-minute ritual. Make it boring on purpose so you actually do it. Light a candle on the counter. Watch one scene that hits you in the chest. Say one person's name underneath your breath. Then do one small present thing so you come back to earth. It's all we can do. And I'm just talking to all the people who are lonely out there, to be honest with you. If you're going to go out and you're having a good thing, enjoy it. But also find a slice for yourself. Halloween is a special night. Crack a window for 5 minutes. Just let the air come in. Play a song that takes you somewhere that brings you back. That's how the dark helps without turning the night into a spiral. And if I'm honest, part of the reason why I feel softer this year is because the rest of the year hasn't, When life skews heavy, you don't need smoke machines to fill it. And again, this isn't me losing my Halloween spirit, not at all. This is just me calibrating it, Because I could still go out tonight. Still find a moment that belongs to me, even if the soundtrack isn't mine and the crowd isn't my usual crew. To be honest with you, I'll probably end up in Wicked Manors, very in Wilton Manors, very LGBTQ positive. It's different lane, different energy, but I'm fine with that. I want one thing that's mine, and I think going there is going to be fun. I think that the vibes are going to be very, very well received. So I'm definitely going to try to enjoy myself tonight. And I'll take 2 minutes of that cool air for sure. I'll hunt for the costume that deserves a round of applause. Compliment somebody. Homemade stuff gets me every time. Cardboard armor. Hey, if anybody with a Ghostbuster pack, I'm definitely cheering them on. And even, and I even give a nod to a stranger who looks like they need a nod. That's enough to stamp the night and call it real. And if you're going out, enjoy it for both of us. Take a picture, tell a story. Scare your friend, then laugh. So they know you love them. Be the lighthouse for the rest of us. We'll meet you there again. If you're staying in, mark the day in the smallest way. Light one thing. Watch one scene. Eat one sweet on purpose. Speak one name and then do one present act. The point isn't spectacle. The point is contact. Why we love the dark is simple. It works. It resets the body so you can keep going without grinding yourself down. It sharpens the picture so your mind can tell what matters. It gives you a safe room so your heart can feel without breaking. That isn't edgy. It's practical. It's human. Still love this day, even the quieter years. I'm here, I'm paying attention, and I'm not afraid to sit with the heavy parts because they make a good part show up without me forcing it. So step outside for a minute tonight. Listen to the leaves. Look up. There's a lot to see when the world turns the lights down. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Don't feed the animals. brothers all around. We talk a lot of junk, yeah, you vibing with us now. Build something from the ground up, yeah, we like to clown. Talk about some real stuff, yeah, something profound. It's a pleasure that you hearing us, wouldn't mess around. It's a topic of discussion worth talking that we bustin'. Put a nail in the coffin. If you love it, then you love it. If you don't mean nothing. Still bring it to the public. Y'all don't be the animals. Put them in a cage. They couldn't handle truth. We gonna bust out the gate like some cannibals. Same face, same channel, messing with the tune. A bunch of idiots stuck in one room. Can't take us serious. You love what we feeding you. I'm with the show, yeah, proceed with the interview. Local celebrity, snatch a toy from your cereal.